We can just... Hi, welcome back to Point Blank. Yes. So tonight we're discussing about ways to survive a breakup and mend a broken heart and how to move on. Yeah. And actually there are quite many ways. I've talked to some people, some would draw, some would exercise, some would go out with friends. But I came across this a novel way that people actually could express their painful experiences through a tangible way. So let's take a look.
So what do you do when you experience a broken heart and a failed relationship? Well, the Museum of Broken Relationship may offer you a chance to overcome your emotional pain and experience some closure. So let's check it out. A prosthetic leg may not be what you have in mind, but it is a symbol of the failed romance that blossomed in a Croatia hospital. On display are also an array of fashion statements, from fur coat to lingerie, each with a personal story behind them. Of course, there will be the more familiar tokens of affection, such as teddy bears and soft toys. Jewelry that used to symbolize the partner's eternal love for each other. This museum was born out of the founders' experiences with failed relationships. They felt the museum offered a unique way of healing their broken hearts through sharing the painful experiences in a tangible way.
So do you think this is a process of healing by donating their items that represents a broken relationship?
Yeah, definitely. I think because people would give the items and the items would be, touring around the world. They will part with the items. And in that sense, there is a sense of closure. And if we don't store it somewhere else, be it a diary or at the museum or something like that, it will be stored in our hearts. And then, it keeps us awake, it disturbs us. So this whole concept of museum or broken relationships helps healing.
So there are many individual stories behind this, right?
Oh yeah, there are many. And what's beautiful about it is something private from people, but it's shared with other people who come and visit the museum, and they connect with each other because it's a universal thing. Heartbreaks, people feeling for another person, and the stories are familiar, or at least identifiable. Yeah. So it's not an indulgent thing. It's not something. It's just a private matter, but other people reading it can also connect with the stories. Yeah.
Are there any Singapore contributions to this museum?
Yeah, definitely. It's very participatory. There's one on handcuffs. I mean, if you think that Singaporeans are not passionate in bed.
Okay, let's take a look at the handcuffs then.
No answers, now that there's much I can say.
It's interesting because it's anonymous as well. So it allows someone to share something that is very private in the public domain, and other people can connect. The different aspects of Singaporeans that you can see through this artistic concept of Museum of Broken Relationship. This one is also interesting. It's bottle filled with cigarette butts,
and it's in the new water bottle.
It's a new
our new water.
Yeah.
So they had a pact between the two of them, the boyfriend and girlfriend, that they would stop smoking
once they filled the thing. Yeah.
Oh, I see.
Yeah. So it was just left for her to complete it because they broke up before the container was filled.
Well, that must have been quite a short relationship then, because this is a relatively small
bottle. Yeah.
It's like
there are a lot of students that come here, and maybe most of them might not have had a relationship yet, or even had their hearts broken, but they can already see the outcomes of broken relationships, and actually learn from this. Lessons. Read a lot of these things in novels and poems, and now you actually encounter in a three-dimensional way objects, and I think that's what art can do. It can kind of bridge the people who've experienced it to people who have not experienced,
Have you had your heart broken before?
Definitely, yes. Many times.
Do you get over a relationship?
have really good friends around you. Yeah. Surround yourself with loved ones, family and friends.
I think the way I handle it is mainly, it's like a form of escapism. Yeah, I don't really confront the items, not relationships. I just kind of like store them away and I keep them like the deepest, darkest corners of my closet. So when I have to move house and I take it out, then I remember. But that's good and bad. I guess that's the reason why I'm often the cause of heartbreak, because I never really confront it, nor do I really learn from it. I end up doing the same thing over and over again. So, you know, to anyone who might be seeing out there and recognizes me, and if I have, you know, made you upset in some way, I'm sorry. Yeah.
Don't think so much. Just focus on what you are and now. Yeah, and move on. There's always someone better in life.
I find that all human beings go through it, go through heartbreaks and all that, and it's good in a way because it makes you feel that you're alive. And I think in life, life's most important lesson is actually to teach us how to let go.
And letting go is important, as the pain of separation and love loss could have devastating consequences.
Yeah,
that's like a suicide note.
Yeah, there was one of the entry in this confession book that they had at the museum, and visitors could just write down their thoughts. And so one of them was bulimic, and she said she's been for a year and she wanted to kill herself, and she signed off as eventually. It's like eventually I'm going to kill myself.
And I mean, this idea of actually donating the stuff that from your past relationship. I mean, do you think it's a good way to let go?
Yeah.
I think it's definitely one innovative way that I come across. But there has to be more that a person who's hurt has to start doing to really get over and to start getting well. And I think one of the key things to remember is really to not just avoid it or just try to forget it, but really to work on it slowly, to cope with it. Yeah, and at the end of the day, the person needs to arrive at the destination where they can look back at the situation and derive a different perspective to help them read that situation. That is a mark that they finally coped with it successfully. Yeah.
So going cold turkey is not going to work then, because that's ignoring it, isn't it?
It did not necessarily mean that. The cold turkey part would just mean that physically you will not be seeing the person, but you will never forget the person, and you need to actually work through and derive a way to cope. Whether is it you think through about what has happened, what have you learned, as well as what would be changed in your life and the way you manage other intimate relationships in the future.
Yeah, in the future.
Yeah, I would definitely say that you want to learn from it. You might need some time to distance yourself from it so that you can have a more objective viewpoint. But then once you do, I think it's important for you to look back so you don't make the same mistakes, especially if it's a short-term relationship, a few months. There's often ways to pinpoint what went wrong, and you can find out how to avoid those things in your life. And often it's about improving yourself or something about yourself, and it's not so much, well, you can control yourself and not her, really, or him, the other person. If it's a long relationship, years and years and years, there's generally a trajectory that relationships go through that in many ways are unavoidable for most people. And those are like the broader meta issues. And those are things that you can look back and say, well, I could do this differently. But sometimes the natural course of a relationship is to start to break down a bit. And then there are ways for you as people that human beings across the board will, over 5 years, 10 years, will have to do certain things to make that relationship continue to stay alive.
Okay. So there's honeymoon phase, like a short relationship that you meet, and then the trajectory for a long relationship is that you get too comfortable, you're just falling into a routine, that sort. And then you handle it differently, right? Right.
Well, if it breaks down during what should be the honeymoon period, then there are often things that's why you should go to a dating coach. Then we can sit down with you and figure out what went wrong. That's part of the reason why we're working. But over the long term, there are things that you might want to get a marriage counselor or get some, because these are issues that everybody has. It's not particularly you and her.
Yeah, particularly one vox pops actually struck me was when she said she ignored it, she just escaped, and she said, and therefore I repeat the same pattern again and again. I never learn from it, and I just repeat it. So, and that really struck me because you're like in a cycle and you're just not aware of it, and then you keep ending up with the wrong person or having the same breakdown in the relationship.
Yeah, I guess what would your advice be for somebody who's like that?
Yeah, if you get into a recurring pattern, if you know what the pattern is, well, that's the first step. You got to figure out what it is that you're doing wrong.
Yeah.
And then see if you've got the pattern. That's already a huge step, right? And then you can look at, well, what can I avoid to change? You know, and it really depends on what exactly it is that's wrong. Each of those things has its own solution.
I see. Okay. How about Iway?
Yeah, I think from the counselor's perspective, I think all of us are imperfect, and therefore we all actually have certain negative interaction patterns, and we all grow and learn through life experiences. So it requires a person to really be open and transparent and to be willing to talk. And when people were to give feedback, they were to really think about it and process. Yeah, so it really also depends on that responsibility of that oneself to want to grow and to change. Yeah, otherwise there is really no way to even be able to pinpoint exactly what is that negative pattern.
Okay. So is there any differences between men and women when it comes to breakups? Like they handle it differently, or men are able to compartmentalize, like, okay, this is gone, but I can, so they kind of like get over easier, or maybe.
I would think there would be differences.
Yeah, everyone's looking at me. I'm the only guy here. Yeah, well, I think men do generally have trouble multitasking, and hence are better at compartmentalizing things and leaving those aside. But it's often denial. That's the whole denial stage, right? I'm going to throw myself in my work, or I'm going to play basketball every day or something. And then they try to just forget it. And sometimes that can help, because over time, as we know, it helps to heal that. But eventually they're going to have to confront whatever it was. And it really depends on how deeply involved they were in that relationship. But yeah, I think what's interesting, though, is that most people think men are emotionless. That's not true. Men are actually feel almost more strongly, in my opinion, than women do at the beginning and ends of a relationship. It's just that they don't know how to express and how to deal with those emotions, so they're not often on the surface. But men are definitely emotional wrecks and emotional beings.
How about a female perspective?
Yeah, I guess for a lot of females I met, they cry over it. They need someone to be able to be there, and they cry and to talk it out.
A shoulder to cry on.
Yeah. I guess for some negative ways that people cope is also to quickly find a replacement, which actually would really be trapping themselves into a very, very risky and dangerous position. Yeah.
That's a good point, actually, because some people say, "Oh, just go on dates," and
yeah,
meet new
like
people.
I've heard my friends say, like the best way to get over a broken relationship is to start dating again.
Yeah,
but I guess.
But isn't there a danger of rebound relationship that is like this person is just a scapegoat or a substitute for that time being?
Yeah. So I think it also depends on how a person defines dating. I think if sometimes they use this term loosely, it's just like casually going out, meeting more people, then yeah, true, you should be meeting more people. But if it means going into a committed relationship to replace that intimate relationship that you have just suffered the pain, then that is really not the time until you get better.
But some would argue that going on dates where, maybe it's still one-to-one, but a very casual setting where you feel that you're treated well, then you feel attractive again, and your heart flutters a little bit, and that helps to make you feel better about yourself. But not a committed relationship. Maybe that sort. What do you think? Is that healthy? Or
I would say getting to know new people is healthy. But of course, it would depend on how the girl manages that interaction with the guy. She cannot, try to do things to secure that what do you call it? That
feel good.
Yeah, to make the guy to continue to treat her as the most special and precious, because it is just a casual relationship.
So you have to make it quite clear to the person.
Otherwise, it will not be fair for him as well as to yourself.
Yeah, I think it actually can help if you, like you were saying, keep it casual and see many people on these casual dates, just like a one day kind of thing, one date. And then see maybe 5 people, just to remind yourself there are other people out there, but then don't get committed. But the thing is that rebound relationships aren't always bad. There's a purpose sometimes to them, that there's a function to them. There's a reason why rebound relationships exist, because you are needing some kind of emotional. There's this emotional space, the vacuum that needs to be filled. It's just that the bad part is when you break up with that person and then the expectations aren't met because the other person thought this was a real thing, wasn't a rebound. And you were thinking, oh, and you suddenly realize, oh, it was a rebound. Right? So it's if you have the expectations clear at the beginning, just casual, we're just going to have dinner or something, then I think it's actually beneficial.
Okay, so the rebound has a function has a value.
It can, if you do it properly.
Yeah, if you do. If not, you start the cycle of another breakup, and then another person seeking another rebound. Yeah, so there's a manual on how to rebound properly, I guess.
Well, I guess I would also sometimes suggest probably just go out with a group of people that would, just to have fun. And
yeah, that would be the safest, right? Yes. That's great. So maybe we will go for a short break, and then we'll come back and we will talk about how relationships has evolved. Maybe, how different ways of
That's
coping
right,
with it.
more when we come back.
Yes.